everyone, it's Elle and welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be talking all about under eye discoloration, under eye bags. So get a pen and paper, let's sit down, let's have a little bit of makeup class, and let's really dive into it so I can hope to educate you on how to create that kind of flawless under eye that you guys have asked me so much about. But before we do that, hit the subscribe button, give me a little thumbs up, and let's do it. So no, this is not a skincare video. I just wanted everything back, so all the focus was on my eyes, and I thought it would be fun just to put a little headband on. So I have been dealing with allergies of some sort recently. We got back from Michigan just a couple of days ago, and I have bites from mosquitoes all over my body, probably close to 40 different bites all over my body. And I don't know if you guys can necessarily see, it has gone down a little bit, but this is a huge under eye circle and like this bag that pops up right here. And there is a little bag on this side. And now, of course, as you guys know, I don't have a ton of dark circles or bags under my eyes. That's not an issue I deal with, but I have tons of clients that I deal with this. And I also now have this kind of issue going on, so I thought it'd be a good opportunity to show you. So let's start and chat. So this is going to be a chatty video. It's going to have a demonstrational part. It's going to be a little bit chatty, so I urge you guys to get out your little, some of you guys tell me that you have little Elle notebooks, and I love that. I'm thinking about actually doing like a little merch that has like a little notebook that says like Elle's notes or something like that, something fun. But it's time for you to kind of get out those notes and or get out that paper and take a little bit of notes if you see fit. So I have done a few videos on this topic, but they have been a long time ago, so I want to kind of give an updated, really in-depth video on this. You guys love my demonstrational videos and my really like technically, you know, heavy, tips heavy videos, so that's what this is. When you're dealing with under eye circles, that's what we're going to talk about first. There are varying degrees of coloration, discoloration. It can be kind of just red and peachy. It can go down to kind of purples. It can get pretty dark with, you know, blues and greens and all sorts of things like that. So when we're talking about this, you really need to assess what coloring or discoloration you have under your eyes. So right now, obviously, this is a very minimal discoloration. I probably could slap quite a bit of concealer on and it would go away, but then it would look very crepey and heavy. So right here, this is a purpley, pinky, reddish kind of circle, and it has a bag on top of it right here. Now, if you're dealing with both of these situations, again, we'll talk about that. So when you are looking for what we're going to deal with first, which is a color corrector, you want to use a color corrector that goes with the severity of your pigmentation. So i.e., for this, you could use a yellow or you could use a peach corrector. I have a whole bunch here to show you guys. Something like this. This is the Urban Decay Naked Skin Color Correcting Fluid. It is a very light peach color. This is in peach. And that could take care of the discoloration. Now, if you have a deeper discoloration, you want to go a little bit deeper in the coloring of your color corrector. So, for example, I love this palette. Honestly, it's so well loved. Please don't judge me. I literally, this is straight from my kit. I just took it out of it because I'm using it. Well, I need to clean my kit, but I just used this on set. So this is one of my favorite color correcting palettes for anybody with medium to deep skin tones. Deep skin tones don't necessarily always need to use this deep of a peach color, but sometimes they do. So this is kind of a little bit more hard to explain because it's all about color theory and the color wheel if you guys want to look that up. But just know that usually peach color correctors correct your under eye darkness and your discoloration around the face, okay? And that's also what we're going to talk about a little bit too today. So that's why in my kit, I mainly will carry a peach color corrector kind of set or family, all right? Now, let's talk about the under eye bags. So say, for example, this part right here, was my flesh tone, and it had no other, you know, it didn't have a deep circle underneath it. And it just had a bag that kind of popped up, which is basically what this one is doing. It doesn't have a lot of discoloration underneath here, maybe it's a tiny bit, but it has a bag that is kind of impeding my eye a little bit here. So those are two different situations. I'm going to be showing you on this eye when you're dealing with both. When you have a bag like this that is coming up off of the skin, what it's doing is it's creating a shadow down here that you need to, or you don't have to, but if you're watching this video, I think you probably are looking for ways to correct that. And you want to basically highlight this area right here, okay? So let's start doing that first. So what you want to do is you want to take usually a concealer that, for something like this, that is pigmented but not cakey or dry. So here's some of my favorites. I love the Bare Minerals Bare Skin. I have a Serum concealer. I love the Naked Skin by Urban Decay. I love the Pro Longwear concealer from MAC. This is what I carry in my kit. I also love the good old Clé de Peau concealer. It is fantastic. The concealer from IT Cosmetics, the Illuminating Concealer by IT Cosmetics is fantastic. It's just super heavy. Or a pen like this, which is the Charlotte Tilbury Retouching pen, is fantastic for this. If you have dry under eyes, you're going to want to use a more hydrating formula. If you have just kind of a normal under eye area, you can use pretty much any formula you want. So let's get into this and done talking. I am going to be using my BIOSSANCE Squalane Peptide Eye Gel because I do feel that this really helps with under eye kind of depuffing, as well as the IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Under Eye Cream. That has been my holy grail. They just sent this to me and I have been loving this one as well. All right, so we're just going to pat that bad boy in. And I like to apply my eye cream about 2 or 3 minutes before I start, or maybe actually 5 minutes, I'd say, before I start applying anything over the eyes, but this kind of sinks right in. And then what I'll do is, just for giggles, since we're here, this is the BOBBIE Brown Radiance Primer, because I'm going to show you how to put makeup over this, okay? And I want to show you how to use this to help with discoloration around the face. I use a brightening primer when I have clients or myself that has hyperpigmentation issues, melasma problems, rosacea, things like that, because what it does is it boosts the radiance in the skin and creates kind of a soft blurring effect. This is just my current favorite. I love it, okay? So this is obviously, you can see it's made the skin very vibrant. So I'm going to take my Charlotte Tilbury Retoucher for this eye. All right, so when you have a bag like this, I want you to look down into the mirror. And when you look down into the mirror, you're gonna see that this bag starts to come out and be visible a little bit more. You can actually see this one right here, right? This one's... So what you wanna do is you wanna take your highlighting pen and go underneath the bag. And say you had it out here, you would do the exact same thing. Go right underneath the bag. You want to make this line as tiny as possible. Then you can either take a brush, a tiny little detailing brush, your finger. I like to use these small sponges by Real Techniques. And I blot downwards away from the bag, because we don't want to add more lightness on the actual bag, because that's going to make it pop out. We want to add lightness where there is dark underneath it, okay? You can also, what I love to do in this situation is let it sit. Let the concealer just sit, because what it does is it kind of starts to coagulate, get a little bit thicker, and it creates a little bit heavier of an application, and also will be a little bit more, it will be a little bit more pigmented. So you won't necessarily have to use a very pigmented concealer if you let it dry a little bit. Now this only works obviously with a more hydrating concealer, which is what this is. It's more of a highlighting pen, but for this area, this suggestion, this is what you can use. All right, so it sat there for a little bit. I am going to use a mirror. Now for this part, you want to look up into, my mirror's right here. So you want to look up into the mirror and bring your chin down so you are expanding the bag area. And you want to use these tiny little motions. My sponge is wet or damp, very gently damp, and you want to pull down. Okay, you want to keep, and I'm going to use the other edge because I want to keep that highlighting color or that lighter color away from the bag that is already there. Okay, so that's really as simple as that is. All right, that's really honestly, in basic terms, as simple as it is. It's really about adding light back in where there was darkness. It's just really important not to put a brighter concealer on top of the bag. So that's why a little bit goes a long way in this section, okay? So now let's talk about the other side. I'm going to be taking, this is honestly my tried and true, the Urban Decay Naked Skin Peach Color Corrector. So what I'm going to do is, again, looking down or bringing your chin down and looking up, like if you guys were the mirror, that's what I'm doing right now. I am going to take my color corrector, I'm going to flip it on the side, and I'm going to draw the same line. And if you have discoloration all over here, you're going to do a very light layer, not a heavy layer, over that discoloration. This is not your concealer. This is honestly just to cut down on the discoloration, okay? You're going to take your sponge again, and this time you don't have to be so precise. You can just kind of go right over that area, because since this is a peach color corrector, it's not going to really highlight the bag per se, but it is going to help cut down on the discoloration, all right? And that's basically what it is. You can use your finger too. And what I do is I do very, very light layers. I only do about 2 layers here, and I'm going to do one more just right here where the discoloration is. Remember, this is not to cover up the discoloration. This is just to minimize it or lessen the severity of it, because we're still going to apply foundation and we're still going to apply concealer. Just tap that in. I'll show you with my finger too. Just little tapping motions. Now, for me, I'm not super into the whole philosophy where you have to be this perfect example of just flawless skin. It can't have any blemishes on it. But I'm the philosophy of let's minimize them as much as we possibly can with keeping skin still looking like skin, okay? So I hope that that makes sense. So for me, this is great. I'm going to put concealer over this and you're barely going to see it, all right? So I want to show you just as a little tidbit, discoloration on the face. I am going, if you have just started following me, I am going through a laser treatment with Laser Away. It is a clear and brilliant treatment, so it is helping my discoloration. I've only had one so far, but it has helped quite a bit with discoloration, but I want to show you. So here we are. We have redness all over the face. I would use, for like, you know, rosacea or something like that, honestly, I don't use green. I use yellow. All right, yellow would be your best bet for any kind of brightening or helping diminish the color of redness or light colored pigmentation, I should say. So light browns, things like that, like mine. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, honestly, I'm just going to kind of pop right over here, just like this. And I'm going to do like a little pin, you know, like pointillism is what the word I was looking for. And I'm just going to help take care of this. Here is a little bit of discoloration. This is a big discoloration right here. Now again, this is not the most time effective way. I mean, to get rid of discoloration and make skin look like skin, it's not going to be very time effective, okay? So just FYI. So now I will let this sit and kind of start to coagulate and do its job, and then I will pat this in either with my fingers or with the sponge. And for this purposes, I will blot this in with my little tiny sponge. So we'll start over here and just light motions. And if you have used yellow, you can also use yellow around your nose to kind of help hide any of the redness that we all have, like I have. And again, whatever severity you have in your hyperpigmentation needs to match the severity of your color corrector. So mine isn't too dark. I'm just using this around my nose to show you guys. Mine isn't too dark, so I don't need a super dark color corrector. Honestly, no one, unless you are medium to deep skin tone, should be using something like this. I mean, I know there's a lot of trends out there with using red lipstick and all of that, and some people can make it work, but let's just talk about real life here and people that are not, you know, wanting to use red lipstick or a deep orange. See how it got completely rid of that discoloration there? And don't freak out if you still see this kind of peach color around the face. That's totally what you want. All right, so let's jam through this. I am just going to apply some foundation. I'm going to be using a lightweight foundation. This is MIRENESSE's foundation. And it's really important when you are doing this next step to use a beauty blender and not a sponge. I mean, sorry, not a beauty blender and not a brush. You want to make sure that you are not disturbing anything underneath the foundation that you're putting on. And only way really to do that is with a sponge that you bounce and tap on the skin. So here we are. I'm just taking my little sponge on its side and I'm going right over that color corrector or that highlighter. And I'm not putting it all the way over here. I'm just kind of gently tapping it. Not a ton of product, just a little bit of product right over that color corrector. So usually that's all I do is a super light wash of foundation. I don't cake it on, you don't need it. If you find at this point you still need a few, like, I don't know, you might feel like, oh, I still want to cover this up or whatever it is, use my favorite, which is the MAC, like I talked about, the MAC Pro Longwear Concealer, because it's waterproof and it's really liquidy but yet lightweight. Use this in your actual flesh tone color, not your concealer tone, your flesh tone color, which I am an NC25, and you can use that in little dots, okay, around the face where you might feel you need extra coverage. And I will show you how to do that here in 1 second. So for this one, I am going to be using actually Ocher by Clé de Peau, but please use your favorite, all right? This is what I would normally use. I can't find my NC25. So this is a dry formula, and I am just going to, I don't feel like I really need a ton because I don't want to feel like this is really caked on, but for demonstrational purposes, this is all I do. And then I take my same sponge that has the foundation in it and just start to bounce that in. That's basically it. That's basically it. And then what I'll do for the under eyes is I will take a little bit of my concealer. I just have some on the back of my hand, and I will go underneath and basically just do something like this and start to push this in. Since we have already evened out that under eye area, using a concealer that is just about a half step lighter than your actual, you know, skin tone will be perfect. So that is really honestly how you get skin-like color correction. Now, of course, I could slap my face on with a much deeper orangey, you know, color corrector and really go for it, and then slap a real nice heavy foundation over this and a nice, you know, concealer and have everything look really, really pristine on camera, and it would look flawless, but it'll just look really strange in person, honestly, you guys. It's really about finding the balance between getting the effects that we want and the look that we want, but in a real life way, in my opinion. Not everybody has to feel this way. That's just what I feel. I also like, and I will do a whole video on discoloration on top of the lid as well, but I'll just take whatever's left on my sponge and I'll make sure I really open up this eye area right in there. Okay, so that's basically it. Now, when you want to do this, you want to make sure you set this rather quickly. I love the Cover FX setting powder, one of my favorites. Obviously, Hourglass Mineral Veil or the Hourglass Ambient Lighting powders. If you want the Sephora The Sephora Micro Smooth powders are fantastic. Also, the CoverGirl Advanced Radiance powder is fantastic. I bought the Milani powder. I have not tried it yet, the kind of brilliant shimmery one for the face. I will let you guys know. And I love to set it with a damp beauty blender. I'm going to be using the Hourglass one. Again, pick your favorite, same sponge. And now what you want to make sure is you want to make sure that you have no creasing in your concealer before you set it. So just tap this out with your finger a little bit. Look up. This is not baking, y'all, okay? This is not baking. This is literally just setting this under eye area, okay? Set, 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 set. All right, so everything is on. I hope you guys stayed till the end because I want to give you a couple quick tips. If you want to do this, like really a great way that works just as effective is to go and get the Instant Age Rewinds from Maybelline. Get the one that matches your actual, whatever color you would use underneath your eyes, so a shade lighter than your natural skin tone, and the neutralizer. The neutralizer is a yellow toned. So if you don't have a ton of discoloration, if it's kind of more on that mild side, that is such a fantastic color corrector for so inexpensive. It doesn't move. It is amazing. And you know, obviously I'm a huge fan of their concealers, okay? Now, if this sounds like so complicated to you, it really isn't once you kind of get into this and get the products that you need. I highly recommend you go into a, I don't know, hopefully maybe you have a great Sephora around you or a Nordstrom or Ulta or something like that, and have somebody help you pick out the appropriate color corrector for you. Now, if you want this broken down, simply, all you really need to do is find a color corrector that matches the intensity of your issue. If it's just a bag, remember you just need a simple light concealer. If it is a dark circle, you need to work with either yellow or peach to neutralize that. And then you can just put your regular concealer over it and go about the rest of your makeup application like you would. And the same thing goes for around the face. You can do this with a tinted moisturizer if you really want to. You can do this with a lightweight foundation. It doesn't have to be this cakey, heavy thing. Now, I will tell you, you will notice that your skin, you think looks a little bit more fake because you're used to seeing your imperfections, but just know it's just something that you need to kind of get used to, because when you don't have a lot of, I don't know, hyperpigmentation or a few acne marks or things like that, it starts to look a little more flawless and a little bit more like, whoa, do I have like too much makeup on? This is the same foundation that I wear all the time, and this is the same concealer I wear all the time, this is the same powder I wear all the time. But do you see when you are kind of taking away any kind of discoloration or divots in the field or divots in your canvas or different colors in your canvas, and you start to even that out, it looks a little bit more porcelain-like. So I hope that that makes sense. Yeah. I hope that makes sense. I really do hope that this helps you guys understand it. I hope it doesn't sound too confusing. This is probably going to be one that you're going to have to watch back several times, maybe while you're doing it, so you can really get the gist of it, since it is a little bit more about color theory and technique. But you guys can do this. It's not that hard. I believe in you. I know you guys can do this, and I really appreciate you guys being here as always. And I love you guys so, so much, and I hope you guys have an amazing day. Lots of love from me to you. Bye, you guys.